Dolphins Today is sponsored by RexMD. If you go to rexmd.com/chat, you can get 90% off and just $2 per dosage. We'll tell you more about them later on in today's show. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Vic Fangio just made a huge hire for his defensive staff. We'll tell you more about that. And he had a press conference today, Vic Fangio's introductory press conference. Will break down some of my takeaways from that. And should the Dolphins draft Tyjae Spears, the Tulane running back? CBS Sports mocked him to Miami in their latest mock draft. And could Derek Carr be headed to the division? Not to Miami, but in the division. We will discuss some rumors regarding that and help us get to 40,000 subscribers. We're almost there. Need less than 500 more. I'm trying to get there by the end of the week. So go down, hit that subscribe button if you want the latest Miami Dolphins news and rumors. Here's the latest news. Adam Schefter tweeting this out this morning. Chargers defensive coordinator Renaldo Hill is leaving L.A. to reunite with Miami defensive coordinator Vic Fangio and become the Dolphins defensive pass game coordinator per source. Hill was Fangio's top target out of respect to his former boss. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley allowed his defensive coordinator to leave L.A. for Miami. So Vic Fangio, less than a weekend to taking this Dolphins defensive coordinator job, has made a huge hire. You bring in a defensive coordinator from a pretty solid team defensively in the Chargers, have him kind of take a downgrade here in terms of job, a demotion to join Fangio's staff. This is a crazy pull for Fangio when you're talking about his defensive staff. Here is what's to know about Renaldo Hill. So he played the NFL for 10 seasons, then started his NFL coaching career with Pittsburgh as their defensive backs coach. Was there for 3 seasons, then was the Dolphins assistant defensive backs coach. So he's coming back to Miami. Then was the DB's coach under Fangio in Denver in 2019 and 2020 when Fangio was the Broncos head coach. So there was already a lot of familiarity between Hill and Fangio. Then spent the last 2 seasons under Brandon Staley as the Chargers defensive coordinator. Was not the defensive play caller, but still the DC on that Chargers team. And mentioned 10-year NFL veteran. He actually played a few seasons in Miami. So he coached in Miami before. He's played in Miami. And now he's coming back to the 305. Very excited about this hire. And when you're breaking down the hire, I think you got to look at how the Dolphins offense fared against the Chargers defense and Hill a few months ago, right? Just 219 total yards in that atrocity of a performance offensively. 127 passing yards. Tyreek Hill was the leading receiver with 81 yards. No one else had more than 31. Raheem Mostert, just 37 rushing yards, was the Dolphins' leading rusher. Miami just 92 total rushing yards in that game. And it was probably the worst performance at the time that we'd seen from Tua Tagovailoa. Just completed 10 of 28 passes. So the Chargers' defense completely shut down a Dolphins offense that came into that game really, really rolling, having won 5 of their last 6. So Hill is the Chargers' DC. Really shut down this Dolphins offense. So just based on that alone, I'm pretty excited about this hire. Vic Fangio is helping Mike McDaniel put together an all-star caliber coaching staff in Miami. Go down and grade the hire. Type A, B, C, D, or F down in the comment section. I think whenever you can get a guy, like I said, to take a demotion, it's a pretty good hire. And he did a really good job as the DC. I think Staley really wanted to keep him, but like Schefter reported, out of respect to his former boss, Fangio, who Staley worked under in both Chicago and Denver, Staley allowed Hill to leave for Miami. And I think it's a good opportunity for Hill. I think that he understands that Staley's very much on the hot seat in Los Angeles, which means anyone on that coaching staff is going to be on the hot seat going into next year. He signed a multi-year deal to be the Dolphins' defensive pass game coordinator and defensive backs coach. I think there's a little bit more job stability in Miami. And if he does well in this position, then he can get a job as a defensive play caller somewhere. Kind of similar to Eric Bieniemy, because Bieniemy was not calling the plays offensively in Kansas City. Now he's calling the plays offensively in Washington. Yeah, that was kind of a lateral move for Bieniemy, but he gets more responsibility. So maybe that's kind of what Hill is thinking here. Him taking this job can lead to him being a defensive play caller somewhere else. Want to take a quick second to tell you about today's sponsor, RexMD. Fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? We've all had those nights where we get too nervous or maybe had too much to drink. There's nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift in drive when you need it the most. But have no fear. Rex MD is here spreading cheer even when you've had a few too many beers. Rex MD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored today's show. Appreciate that. To help you always be prepared. Rex MD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help all the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. Rex MD makes getting generic and branded Viagra and Cialis easily. Everything's online, even the prescription, and they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no copays. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. Go to rexmd.com/chat for this limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are now available for our listeners to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. That link is going to be in the comments and the description of today's video. But like I said, this deal is available for a limited time. So go and take advantage of it. One of the best deals in the history of deals, if we're being honest. rexmd.com/chat. Again, that link is in the comments and the description of today's video. So I just mentioned the hire that Vic Fangio just made to his defensive staff. Fangio actually just had his introductory press conference today, and here's what he said about what drew him to the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have a good thing going here. I like Mike and his staff that he's already put in place here. There's a good nucleus of players here in the lure of South Florida. Of course, he had to be honest about that. They would not want to live in Miami. So I'm going to break down some press conference takeaways here. He kind of said right off the bat that he didn't really have a prior connection to Mike McDaniel, which we kind of already knew, obviously, but I thought that maybe they kind of, talked a lot, having been coaches in this league for a little while. But there's really no prior connection to McDaniel. They're just now starting to get to know each other. But that says a lot about this hire because Frank Reich really wanted him in Carolina. I think Sean Payton really wanted him to come back to Denver. Kyle Shanahan really wanted him in San Francisco. Coaches that he all had connections with. But instead, he chose to coach under Mike McDaniel. I think that says a lot about Mike and the reputation that the young head coach has around the league. Number two here, there was that report that came out that he was going to help the Eagles during the Super Bowl. I think a lot of us were thinking, oh, he's helping the defense. Well, no, he was actually helping the offense, which explains a lot about the Eagles' defensive performance in the Super Bowl, especially in the second half. There's no way Vic Fangio is helping the Eagles' defense. So he was helping the Eagles' offense, who had a really good showing against the Chiefs' defense in the Super Bowl. He was helping the offense prepare from a defensive perspective, and sure enough, the Eagles had a great performance offensively in that Super Bowl. If he was helping out the defense, they might have won the game. And then he brought up the young talent on this Dolphins team a lot throughout this press conference. He mentioned Javon Holland. He mentioned Jalen Phillips. He mentioned Christian Wilkins, and I think that was a pull for him when we were talking about why Fangio should consider Miami. Before we even knew he was going to interview with the Dolphins, we were talking about all the young weapons on that Dolphins defense that he can turn in to really, really good players in this league. Even said Javon Holland has the potential to be one of the best safeties in this league, and I could not agree more. And the whole press conference in general was just extremely impressive. I mean, producer Jack Lauderay, who's behind the scenes right now, he thought I was going to start crying during this press conference. I was just watching this in awe. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows his stuff, and that shouldn't surprise any of us. I mean, he's one of the greatest defensive minds of this era, but he was extremely sharp. He felt extremely comfortable at the podium. Quite frankly, it's one of the most impressive introductory press conferences that I've ever seen. A number 5 takeaway here is he's excited to try out new packages, and he actually said that in an interview the other day with Travis Wingfield of the Miami Dolphins website right after he was hired, saying that he spent some time, a lot of time, taking a year off, just kind of in the film room, evaluating defenses, how they're adapting to modern offenses, and he's got some new packages that he's excited to try out. Also, something that he noted was he was asked, when should you blitz? And I think that question was made in part because of Josh Boyer being a blitz boy, as we like to call him. And he said, we need to dictate when we blitz. We don't need to be blitzing all the time. So that was also good to hear. And then Bradley Chubb, and that connection between the two. Obviously, Chubb was in Denver when Fangio was the head coach for those 3 seasons, and I think that Vic Fangio is going to bring out the best of Bradley Chubb, who's somewhat disappointed after the trade in Miami. Here's what Fangio said. Bradley and I talked about this the other day. The 3 years I was with him in Denver, he was the victim of some injuries. He missed most of my last year there. I'm anxious to get him rolling and get him healthy and see the Bradley Chubb we are capable of seeing. So I was really excited to hear Fangio talk about Chubb, and I think it's great for Chubb that Fangio is going to be working with him again. Fangio also said this. I think that the NFL is a better league when the Dolphins are relevant and in the hunt, and hopefully we can get back to that. His press conference, as I tweeted, had me wanting to run through a brick wall. He also said this. I still have a lot of coaching left in me. It's not like I'm thinking about retirement or anything. Somebody asked, how much longer are you going to do this? I don't know. It might be 10 years if they'll have me here for 10 years. Vic, I can assure you, Dolphins fans want you here for 10 years. If Vic Fangio, producer Jack Lauderay, is here for 10 years, and when you say Miami, you're talking multiple Super Bowls. I mean, seriously, this defense is going to be a Super Bowl caliber defense. He was actually asked that too. A reporter asked him, can this defense be Super Bowl caliber? He's like, let's get one practice under our belt before I answer that. But they're well on their way to being a Super Bowl caliber team under Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio. I mean, that duo is McDaniel is the offensive play caller and Fangio is the defensive play caller. Is going to be really, really special. Maybe Tyjae Spears will be working under Mike McDaniel, the Tulane running back. He's mocked to Miami in CBS Sports' first 2-round mock draft. Of course, the Dolphins do not have a first-round pick, so if you want to see some mock drafts that involve the Fins, you got to look up these 2-round mock drafts. And Spears would be a fantastic selection. Over 1,500 yards this season for Tulane. Had that great performance against USC in the Cotton Bowl. Averaged 6.9 yards per carry. 19 touchdowns. Just a fantastic season for Spears. And I'm really excited to watch him at the Combine. The Combine coming up in a little over a week. We're going to get to see some Dolphins prospects in action. He is someone to look out for at the Combine, along with Sean Tucker, Devin Achane, a couple other running backs that might follow the Dolphins in the second round. But I would be thrilled if they took Spears here in round 2. I don't think he's going to fall to round 3. The Dolphins would probably have to take them with their selection in the second round. You want to draft Tyjae Spears out of Tulane. Type D for draft or P for pass down in the comments section. Go down, let me know. Do you want to draft Tyjae Spears, the Tulane running back? Want to hit on this before we go. Dov Kleiman tweeted, the Jets really believe that former Raiders QB Derek Carr is the type of quarterback that can lead them to a championship, Jeff Darlington said on Get Up this morning on ESPN. Carr's meeting with New York, which he had over the weekend, was very positive and went well. They feel like he's a great player, so Derek Carr could be headed to our division here. There's some other teams in the mix. He's met with the Saints. He might meet with the Commanders, the Panthers, and the Titans as well. But the 2 top teams here for Carr are clearly the New Orleans Saints and the New York Jets. If I had to guess, I would probably say the Jets because I think the Jets are going to swing and miss on Aaron Rodgers. I believe Rodgers is headed to Vegas, and he's on his darkness retreat right now, I think. So we'll probably hear something about Rodgers in the coming days. And then when Rodgers makes a decision, then I think Derek Carr will ultimately sign with the New York Jets. I want to give a shout-out to Carmen Sarno. So, Producer Jack, wild story here. So, as some of you know, I was in Syracuse over the weekend for the Syracuse-Duke game. So, before I left town yesterday, I went to my favorite brunch spot in Syracuse. Shout-out Nesty Coast 2 over there in West Syracuse. Love that place. But I'm sitting down having brunch with a few college buddies of mine. And Carmen Sarno recognized me, a supporter of the channel. Carmen, it was great meeting you and your wife. Enjoyed talking about the Fins for a little while, man. But I really appreciate your support of the channel. And Dolphins fans, if you see me out and about, wherever, you never know where you might run into me. Feel free to say hello. But it was really nice talking to Carmen yesterday. Big Dolphins fan. I appreciate you repping Fins Nation up there in Syracuse. We have a lot of viewers, actually, Producer Jack, from Central New York, a couple from Rochester, a couple from Syracuse, a couple from Bills country out there in Buffalo. So, Carmen, so nice meeting yesterday. I appreciate you always watching the show. Be sure to go down and subscribe. If you're a Dolphins fan, you have come to the right place. Daily Dolphins videos, even in the offseason. Have a very interesting video coming for you guys tomorrow.